Have y'all ever had a sickness and health moment? Our whole goal is to be a hub for marriages all across the world, right? We know that the world is struggling, and so what we want to do is we want to become something that can give content, that can be tools, and can be a hub where whatever you need, you can come to it. This particular documentary, though, is going to be content where we are giving something, even if we're long gone off the scene. It's a tool to help people to keep running, even when they want to give up.
My whole back was cut open, and they didn't like stitch it back together. It just healed from the inside out. And so she would have to like change my gauze and pack it and all that stuff. So it was a very excruciating moment. I couldn't be as mobile as I am now or as I was when I got it done. So she had to take care of me and nurse me back to good health.
So I think, well, the first thing is kind of go like a sickness and health moment where, like, really transparent. I had did like birth control for about 10 years. And I could never like have a period by myself. So it was the September before we got married. I knew we wanted to have kids, and everyone was like, okay, you need to get off birth control right now if you guys are wanting to have kids, because to kind of take a moment for your body to adjust back to what it was. And so I got off birth control that September. We got married in December. And about 6 months later, like, I wasn't having a period. And then that August came, and I was literally bleeding for 6 months. Like, it was nonstop. So it was like something was going on with my health that we couldn't understand. Like, I was back and forth in between doctors. And you're married, so as a woman, that affects your sex life as well. You're like, for men, I think it got to the point where it was like, all right, I can't go 6 months. And it wasn't like a heavy bleed, but it was like you're spotting and it's coming in and out and you don't know what's going on. So you're having all these like major changes that's going on with your body. Doctors can't explain it. You don't know what's going on. And like one thing that we were believing for was for a child. And in that, I guess the sickness of that, my husband kept telling me, like, the Lord is shedding something on the inside of you to prepare your womb for a baby. And I was like, well, what is happening? Like, why is it happening? And for me, it was like, okay, well, you went 6 months without having a period. And then you went 6 months on a period. And then it stopped for a month. And then I think like in January of last year, it started back up again. And they just kept saying, okay, we'll put you on birth control to level it out. And it was like, okay, well, if birth control is causing an issue, why would you put me back on birth control to level out the issue? So we just kind of like waited it out. I think it went for about another 3 months, and then it stopped for a month. And then in March, April, May. Was it May, I think? No, May. We thought we was having a miscarriage. And because I had a really bad cycle that took me to the ER. We were in the ER. And like literally just having your spouse to like praying for you and not knowing what's going on with your body. And he just kept saying like, this is what the Lord is doing. Like the Lord is shedding something on you. I don't know what's happening or what was built up on your womb to sustain a baby, but like, just know like your body is shedding for a reason. And June 7th, we conceived our child. So I think for us, like that sickness and health moment of just having your spouse there that can go for the Lord and before the Lord when you have no hope, when you don't have the strength to do it yourself, but having that person there with you that's like, okay, I see that in this moment you can't go to the Father, so I'm going to go on your behalf. So to have someone there for sickness and in health was like, to me, amazing. And then to get the promise of what the Lord promised us, which is our child.
It required a lot of patience just for me to like listen to him on what, like how I could pack it, how I could, what his pain level was. I really had to be patient with him. He had to be patient with me because it's my first time ever dealing with this, even though I was kind of excited. It's my Grey's Anatomy moment. But it really showed him that I'm with you through anything. Like it was really gruesome. But
yeah, it was quite painful. I think the biggest overcoming moment is the birth of our child because we neither of us had children before we got married, so to add a whole nother piece into the equation, and it's still a work in progress because we have to figure out, because it's not a rule book to it. So with him being, growing every day and developing every day, we have to develop with him, and we have to develop with each other as well.
We have a couple of hurdles that we have overcome, and one of them being family. There was a lot of family that was against us being together. And the way we overcame that is we just picked up, we packed up, and we left. We left Michigan, and we've been gone from Michigan since 2015. Was it 15? Mm-hmm. Yes, 2015. We had a 1999 Monte Carlo SS 2-door. And we packed up everything that we could, including our child. She had stuff all on top of her head in the car seat. Anything that would fit in that Monte Carlo, we packed it up. Anything that would not fit, we sold it, gave it away. And it was one Sunday, we just packed up and hightailed it out of there. And we ain't looked back since. And another hurdle that we have overcome was depression.
Literally, he was in the hospital, and it was just, what was wrong with you? He was throwing up.
I think it was like a stomach.
Yeah, it was like a stomach virus or something. But they told him that. Well, the lady walked in. What did she say? I was so nervous.
She said, "Does it feel like there's an elephant on your chest?"
Yeah, she was like, "Do you smoke a lot? Have you been smoking your entire life?" Like
never.
They were basically saying he needed heart surgery like that day, and they made him go do a cardiac test where he had to run on the treadmill. Yeah. They were doing X-rays. I was just getting like tests back to back. This is before COVID,
they did
so
a brain
everybody
test.
was at the hospital with it, which was nice, but it was still very scary because they was making us feel like he was about to die.
Yeah.
I was just like,
and my wife originally was at the Chris Brown concert, which I missed. Her best concert.
Because I thought he just had a stomach ache.
Yeah,
like,
so I'm in the hospital,
the
and she went to the concert. I had to send somebody else to the concert.
That was the best concert ever. I still tease him about that.
She tells me about that a lot.
But I was sad. But as soon as I got home, he was on the floor. I'm like, okay, let's go to the hospital. And then they just scared us. And that, I don't know. I never prayed like that. I was in the hallway at the hospital on the floor, and his dad came up behind me. That's when I knew he was my father. Because he sat right next to me. He got on his knees. We was in the hallway at the hospital, and he was like, "Get up." He just started praying or nothing. He told me to get up. Because he was like, it wasn't happening. He was like, this is not happening right now. Like, they're wrong. And they was wrong, which was crazy. It was so wrong. We ended up staying like 3 nights, and then I am getting emotional because it was a lot. I'm like, he about to die. Yeah. We just got married.
Yeah.
So, like, the second year into our marriage, we had decided that we wanted to have children. We were ready to have children. And so, naturally, we were trying the natural way. And we noticed that, we weren't getting pregnant right away. Yeah. And so we had maybe like into the next year, which would be our 3rd year of marriage, I had to go, the OBGYN regular checkup. Mm-hmm. And I was told that my fibroid tumors had grew back. So I had them removed when I was 21, but they grew back like with a vengeance. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we couldn't get pregnant. And so I had to have the surgery to have them removed before I could even start the fertility treatments. And the crazy part about the fertility treatments, it had hormones in it, which made my tumors grow back. Mm. So it was a lot. Yeah. So after like 2 surgeries, I'm sorry, I don't want to cry.
Yeah, I knew it was going to, yeah. It's all right, man.
I'm sorry.
All right, I knew.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, It was so bad to the point where I had I don't like needles. I don't like I had to, like, it was one time I remember I had to give her a shot. I hate needles. And I remember in the bathroom, we were sitting in our bathroom, and I had to give her a shot in her stomach, and you know, it's just, it was a crazy time, but like we really wanted a child, so.
Yeah, so after like 3 years of trying, we finally got pregnant with Layla.
Yeah.
And when I got pregnant, I had started bleeding a lot right away. Yeah. And so I found out that I had a tear in my placenta. So like after 3 years of trying to get pregnant, then I find out that.
Yeah.
And so then he went on tour with Fred Hammond. So I'm on bed rest with a high risk pregnancy, and he was on tour.
Gone.
And it was probably like the hardest 9 months ever.
Yeah.
I had to have a C-section, and she was born healthy. Praise God.
Yes, I was there.
Right. We don't want to forget he was there. But that was really a really trying time, and just trying to balance taking care of myself, but then also being supportive of his career, you know.
When she got pregnant with our daughter, we knew that the birth would bring promise because of the child, but we weren't aware that it would bring so many problems. Yeah. And so my wife was very sick a lot. She had to deal with iron deficiency issues.
So there was a lot.
Yeah.
In the season of pregnancy for me. First, I dealt with really, really bad anemia, which caused my iron to be, and my hemoglobin to be extremely low, which caused me to get iron infusions every 2 weeks. What was the bigger thing was a time when I had a headache that would not go away. Yeah. And I didn't know what the headache was. I took a Tylenol, I believe. I think I took a Tylenol, and it wouldn't go away. And I'm not one to be able to not bear pain. So when we got to the hospital, my husband took me to the hospital and said, okay, I'm going to take you to the hospital. Something's wrong. When we got there, the doctor came next to us in the hospital room, and she kind of rubbed on me, and she said, you're going to be admitted into the hospital tonight. And I'm like, over a headache? She was like...
Suddenly.
She talked to my husband. She said, your wife's D-dimer is high. We didn't know what that was. But
it was abnormally
high. And when they told us that, we both looked at each other and was like, what's a D-dimer? She said, it's possible you may have what we call a pulmonary embolism. Never heard this term before in my life. So after that, we found out that I had a blood clot on my lungs that was actually something we had never even thought was possible. So they admitted me into the hospital, and I became subject to having blood thinners my entire pregnancy, some in which I was too scared to poke myself, and I would have to have my husband to inject the blood thinners in me twice a day.
So I had to administer pain to my wife.
Yeah.
But it was ultimately helping her and not hindering her. Yeah. But I had to be willing to, in the meantime, I'm not a doctor, never been a nurse, have no nursing training. So I've got to learn how to administer these shots to my wife to ensure her safety, the safety of our baby.
Yeah, and it was so crazy because she said to my husband, she said, your wife could die.
Right, and she said it like that.
She just said it like that. Like, if we don't admit her, she could die.
Yeah.
So I would say that was probably the hardest.
And it seemed like that stuff would never happen when I was home.
I would have like episodes where I would just bleed. Like
a lot. And one time it just was so bad I had to take myself to the hospital. And he made sure the one of the missionaries from our church met me there because it was like 2:00 in the morning. And the nurse, she was like, I need you to go to the bathroom. And I was like, I'm scared. You know what I mean? Because like, what if I had a miscarriage? And I remember going to the bathroom and nothing but blood was coming out. And I heard like a plop in the toilet and I like freaked out because I thought I was miscarrying. And I just was calling out to Jesus, you know, and the nurse came in and she was like, I need you to get up because I need to look in the toilet. And it was the tear in my placenta would heal with by a blood clot forming. And so when the blood clot came out, that's what caused the bleeding again. And so we went through that. And I called Layla my miracle baby for sure.
My wife has suffered, past tense, has suffered from depression, and it was definitely a challenging time because one, not physically experiencing it, didn't know how to deal with it, and she didn't know how to express how I could help her. So it was difficult, but with many nights of prayer and just kept persevering, and we overcame that obstacle. So we've been rocking.
Although we love each other, sometimes I think we have to realize our commitment is not always to each other, but it's to God first. So we made the commitment under God. We made the commitment with our family, and sometimes when I don't love him like I really should, he is my best friend. So I think that helped us get over the hurdles because sometimes your friendships will hold you when your marriage can't.
And it was in that moment where it was like, okay, God, so you testing us for real. And that's when we realized that the sickness and health vow that we took had become real. It was no longer just a cliche of through sickness and in health, because it was either my child's life or my life
or both
on the line, or both. But thank God that she came healthy and I had a husband who was there to help me throughout the way.
Another hurdle that we were young, everybody talked about being young, and we literally grew up together, They took a therapist to tell us that. Right. But there's just a, reality of it. But we went bankrupt. We went bankrupt and had to live in my mother-in-law's basement. And, we made the best of what it was. We literally made an apartment in her basement. We sectioned it off. This is our living room. This is our bedroom. And we were like, hey, we're just going to make this work. A year later, we were able to move out, get our own place and never went back. But it took that, major hurdle for us to go bankrupt, but realize that even though we're bankrupt, we still have each other.